Good afternoon, folks. Welcome back to Celtic Fans TV. It's full-time reaction to Motherwell 1, Celtic 3 here from Fir Park. I've got Darren and Kenny with me. Kenny, it's another late show at Fir Park, but we live to fight another day.
Yeah, another excruciating watch. Really difficult to, you're sort of thinking the whole thing's gone there. The first half, I was actually shocked by what I was seeing in the first half. Basic passes was just bereft. But the worst thing in the first half for me, it actually looked like I was fully prepared to have to come on here and say he's now lost the dressing room because there was no fight, there was no spirit. 2 points in it, struggling. They know the fan base are down, they know what they're representing. You think they would at least come out the traps with a bit of guts, if anything. And none of that was there. That was the weakest it had been all season, and just in terms of togetherness. And at half time, I just thought the whole thing had just collapsed. Second half, it did completely change, and we showed real resilience, and that was wrong. It doesn't appear that he's lost the dressing room on the strength of what we put together in the second half. And I think there was three reasons. The first half, Idah was lost. He was playing he wasn't playing deep enough, which was allowing them to create basic chances with balls over the top. In the second half, he positioned himself a bit deeper, and we get some nice structure in the middle of the park, which allows us to create something. Carter Vickers coming on made a big difference for us. It squeezed the game. It just gives you a calmness at the back. It's like we're a completely different side just by him being on the park.
Nawrocki, even though I've been advocating for Nawrocki to come in, I did think he struggled today.
Yeah.
Looked nervous, didn't he?
And obviously Idah, who gets a man in the match shift, gives us a focal point, gives us some quality with his feet, finishing, power. So a game, very much a cliche, but a game, completely a different game of two halves, and we're hanging in there.
Darren, we are hanging in there. We saw changes to the starting lineup. I think Brendan Rodgers throughout the course of this season has chopped and changed it from time to time, and it looks clear that he doesn't really know what his best team is. Kuhn comes in, as Kenny says, Idah comes back into the team, but in that first half we did look disjointed, a lot of sloppy passes, and the players looked nervous, I thought. And to be honest, Motherwell had the better chances in the first half.
100%, and I think the changes as well to the back four, because I was happy when I seen the lineup to see Ali Johnson come back. Like, he was wearing a face mask because he's obviously not 100%. Taylor's coming back in there, and like I agree with you about Nawrocki. I was glad to see Nawrocki, but he looked nervous. And I think if you compare it to last season, that's just an area of the pitch that we never changed. It was always the exact same, and I think that's, if you look at a team that always wins the league over a course this season, they never change their back four. And like you says, Brendan Rodgers doesn't know his best team. Kuhn coming in today had a horrible game. Kyogo basically getting hooked at half time, which is, I know he scored last week, but it just looks as if his head's in the mud there. I seen him when he was getting on the bus. He didn't even go over and sign autographs for the fans. He had his hood up and he just wanted to go on the bus. Palma getting dropped out again. Idah coming in. It's not good for a team like chemistry, but again, like today, I thought that the first half was bad because not only you said Motherwell with the better chances, which they did, but I can't remember us even creating something. There was maybe like
Kyogo, the one where McGregor slid him in, but that was it really.
That was it really, and Motherwell probably fully deserved the lead for the second half. Kenny covered most of it, that it was a tale of two halves. I thought Adam Idah coming on makes a big difference. I think he's just a striker, isn't he? Like no other attributes to his game other than being a striker. His hold-up play was brilliant. I thought not just his 2 goals, but when we got the free kick at the edge of the box, and it was they were looking at that for a red card. Just
really strong, isn't he?
Really strong, just holding the ball up as well. And I thought he'd done that well for most of the second half. And it's good that that's his first couple of goals that weren't like for a penalty as well. So I fully expect him maybe to start at Tynecastle. But again, it just goes back to like we're always constantly changing that. It's not good for over a course of the season, but. Unfortunately, we're just in that position where you have to keep rotating it on a game-by-game basis as to who probably played best over the last 90 minutes.
Aye, we're just getting by, aren't we? Kenny, you mentioned in the first half how lost Kyogo looked, and that's been a familiar story all season. What I said before the game was, in terms of him and Idah together and him deeper, I didn't think it's necessarily working for us, but I need to actually shout out Callum in Asia, who'll probably be watching this. He mentioned at the start of the season that he didn't feel like Kyogo was a Brendan Rodgers type striker, and I kind of disagreed with that because Brendan Rodgers utilised Vardy quite well at Leicester, who was small, really quick goal scorer. But I can kind of see what he means, because you see the difference when Idah comes on, and right now we don't have any quality coming in for the wide areas, overlapping full-backs, MD getting to the byline for low crosses, the things that Kyogo lives off of. We don't have any of that. And so that means that when Idah comes on and he's much more of a focal point, he's strong, he can hold it up, you can go a bit more direct into him. and he scores two really, really good goals.
I mean, it's hard. The Kyogo one's difficult because he's your talisman. You know the quality he's got, but we just can't find them. And the reason that we can't... How many goals does Kyogo score when we get to the byline, we blaze it across goal, and his trademark finish is just to clip one in at the near post? He gets loads of his goals like that, and that's where he gets his confidence from. He can't score those because we don't have the ammunition out wide to be able to service him. Kuhn was an absolute chronic outing from Kuhn. Maeda, we know, is just hit and miss, and the other two guys that were on the bench, you don't know what you're going to get. So it's hard for Kyogo because he's not getting the service. At this point in the season, with 11 games left, you've just got to play the percentages.
Yeah.
We don't have time to persist and experiment and try and see if things improved. We have zero time. It's a here and now moment. And that's 2 games that Adam Idah's got 4 points for us with 4 goals, and 2 of which have been in the last minute. You can't ignore that at this point in the season. He's turning up. He's turning up when it really matters. Is he someone that we're going to sign in the summer and build a team around? It's far too premature to say that, but we don't even need to think about that right now. We need to think about someone that scored 4 goals for us and is keeping us hanging into the title race. He starts for me on Wednesday, almost irrespective of what he does. You play him against Hearts because he gives you a focal point.
Yeah.
And we move on from there, but we've got to improve things for the wide areas. It's killing us out wide.
Aye, absolutely, and I think in terms of Kyogo and talking about experiment, trying to make it work, I think if it was going to work, it would have worked by now. The distance we are through the season, Dan, I don't want to over-egg this, because obviously going in a title race, late winners can be psychological boosts, but the performance level has been so far off it, and it was for long spells today. But going into added time, I think you could be forgiven for thinking we've not got it in us. We're not going to find a winner here. We'd passed up some good opportunities. After Idah got the equaliser, we had a bit of momentum. We'd pinned them back a wee bit, and you thought maybe there is another goal in it for us here. But going into added time, you were thinking, after what you've seen for the team in recent weeks, have we got it? But to the team's credit, Yang involved in both goals. Alistair Johnson, who was, I think, poor across today, eventually puts a good ball in as well. We found a way, and as Kenny says, we're not going to all of a sudden click into gear and start playing scintillating football this season. That's done. We need to find a way to scratch and then claw our way through these final 11 games.
Well, I thought the moment had passed us when Maeda had missed one terrible chance, a really blatant chance, and then missed 2 half chances. I thought that psychologically the game would have been gone for them at the time, but like you says, credit to them, they just kept going. And for us standing here after a last minute winner, it's jubilation for us, right? But when you go home and you calm down and you go, you need to say we really did get away with one today, and then you say we really did get away with one against Hibs last month, and we got away with one last time we were here. It's alright coming out a last minute winner maybe once or twice a season, but we're doing it too often now. And then you look at last week, Kilmarnock scoring the last minute equaliser against us. If you want to be a successful champions team, you can't just keep doing that. You need to have games wrapped up by maybe 60, 70 minutes, and then that way you can start getting your key players off and focus on the next game. We're not doing that. We are scraping by, and like you says, there is moments in the season. If you ask most Celtic fans now who's favourites for the title, they're going to say Rangers. If you asked Rangers fans in October who was probably going to win the league, they would say Celtic. This is a bad spell for us, and we can just be optimistic or we can be pessimistic going forward, because there is how many 11 games left. It's not a lot of time. I would rather it was the other way about, where we were chasing them, because we did that 2 years ago and then we ended up going on to win the league. So it's a psychological battle more than it is just being on the pitch and trying to play as well. Pressure's on us, a lot of pressure, especially going into the day, and I think they coped with it well going into that last 5 minutes. But how are they going to cope when we go to Ibrox, when we go to Tynecastle? Those are big games. If we're struggling to beat Kilmarnock at home and we're struggling against, no disrespect to Motherwell, how are we going to cope at Tynecastle and Ibrox? That's just my worry.
Aye, that's been a big question all season, Kenny. Obviously we've hung in there today, we've got the points. It keeps us in within touch and distance, but we were minutes away from it being done, with the trajectory the way we're playing, and so thank goodness we managed to find a way and we're still fighting. I
mean, it might be a springboard. Look, we've had enough sort of difficult discussions, right, in the last few weeks. We've had enough negativity. Let's try and think about, how can this galvanise the side? It could, right? I mean, that, if the league's all but gone and you turn it around and you're only a couple of points behind, Rangers' next fixture's a very difficult one. And Carter Vickers, we're a different animal when he's back in the side. He is going to be back in the side. He's bound to play on Wednesday. Rio Hattati's probably going to be back post-split, right? We've got a bit of an easier post-split. I know these are all little fine margins, but there's only 11 games left, they matter.
Yeah.
There are things that can turn this in our favour. And maybe the psychology of that victory is going to be a very important ingredient come the end of the season. Look, in my heart of hearts, do I see us as favourites for the title? I don't. I just don't, because we're watching every week isn't good enough. But as Darren says, it's a bunch about just mentality for the last 11 games as it is anything else. And finally we've showed a bit of spirit there.
Aye, absolutely, there you go. We'll have to fight another day. Like this video, comment your own thoughts on today's game below. We'll see you during the week for the build up to Dundee. Cheers.